Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more oxygen not included in the Dupe Troupe. Alright, so it is now cycle 237. Obviously I have jumped forward quite a bit, but the base is looking pretty solid right now. Temperature is mostly under control. Diseases aren't too bad. Stress is having some issues occasionally. We're doing really well on food now, which is just fantastic, so all in all, not bad. We seem to have stabilized in a pretty big way. Today, we are going to try to set up an oil refinery and start manufacturing petroleum and plastic. Of course, if we are going to get ourselves some oil refinery, that means we actually need to get some oil. So, first thing to do probably is actually to dig our way down to a good pocket of crude oil. We could make use of the oil reservoir. That is a thing you can do if you use the oil well. Where is that? It's here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but there is an oil well that you can use. You can build it right here and you use up the oil reservoir. It does require some resources, I think clean water, and also has to have pretty good pressure or something like that. I don't know. We're probably not going to bother with that, though. There's a lot of good pockets of crude oil just sort of sitting around. Also, there's a slickster. This little guy right down here. Oh, he's so cute and happy. These guys breathe, or sorry, not just breathe, they eat carbon dioxide and create crude oil. Kind of like these puffs will absorb polluted oxygen, and they emit slime. Same kind of concept, but with these guys. So the cool added benefit of creating our oil refinery is it actually will emit a lot of carbon dioxide. No, wait. Hang on. Natural gas. This emits natural gas, yes. Is it petroleum? Polymer press. Ah, sorry, it's the polymer press that can emit a fair bit of carbon dioxide. There we go. So what we could do is actually pipe that carbon dioxide right down here to the slickster, and then boom, technically, we have a semi-infinite source of oil as long as we keep this guy fed and happy. Also, I just realized there's a geyser right here. Ooh, what could that be? Is it good? Is it dangerous? Is it an unlimited source of oil that way? That would also be nice. Ugh. One thing I did discover way up here is this anti-entropy thermonullifier. Some sort of a special building right here. It's a self-sustaining machine powered by what appears to be refined neutronium. How we have that in this asteroid, no one knows. But it absorbs and neutralizes heat when it's submersed in hydrogen. So it eats up a tiny, tiny little bit of hydrogen every second and greatly cools down the area around it. Like, I think somewhere on the order of like 200 or maybe 400 kilowatts, which is a phenomenal amount of heat to lose. If we wanted to make use of that, that would be a pretty easy way to very thoroughly chill down our air-conditioned air, our water sources, whatever we want. All we have to do is funnel it up to this thing, get it real frickin' cold, and then send it back down. That would work. I'm not sure it's really worth the effort, but it would work. Now, one big downside of working in this area is we are getting heat stroke every time we have someone down there for more than like 10 seconds. Sans has already been afflicted by the heat stroke. You'd think I would have learned with Roman, but I didn't. So she's going to have to rest it up for a little bit. So yeah, basically it's really freaking hot down here. Like, really freaking hot. Like, almost 90 degrees Celsius in some cases, which is just real bad. Real dang bad. So, unfortunately, there's no easy way to do this aside from kind of a slow, iterative process where you gradually send people down, run them up into the cold biome to cool off, then back down, and so on and so forth. Or we go ahead and get ourselves some exosuits, which I haven't had to worry about yet, though maybe we should. Yeah, there it is. Exosuit dock stores and recharges an atmosuit. We can build it next to a checkpoint to make sure they change into suits when passing by. So what does this cost? So this requires some refined metal. Both of them do. Okay, so no plastic required, though I think the exosuit itself might. The exosuit forge. Now this thing does require 480 watts of power, which is a reasonably good amount. It doesn't tell you up front what it costs to build an Atmos suit, though I'm fairly confident it's a fair bit of plastic and maybe also some glass, which we haven't done. That's another thing we could do, a glass forge. Ugh. Now this thing unfortunately outputs 80 watts of heat, which is a fair bit, I think. Also requires 1.2 kilowatts of power. Yikes. Alright. Well, ceramics. I don't even know what you would build with ceramics. I have no idea. Well, we have enough plastic thanks to my 4 glossy Drecos that I think we actually could build up some exosuits if we wanted to. So maybe that is something we really should consider doing. Go ahead and mine some of this area out, make a little bit more space. Then place down some sort of an exosuit forge. and try to get a few of those going. Okay, okay, the oil apparently is coming to me. I guess the pressure was really high? I didn't think it was that high. Okay. Well, guess we don't need this anymore. Is that where it's just gonna... Nope, that's not where it's gonna stop. This is gonna get interesting really quick, isn't it? Since we do have a little bit of plastic to spare, let's go ahead and try building out a couple of these comfy beds. Individual little bedrooms. That should make people happy, right? Let's see. So the barracks provides +1 morale, a bedroom provides +2. Doesn't seem like it's worth a whole lot, but I guess. I mean, it does take a full 200 kilograms of plastic to make this thing, so it seems like it's pretty costly, but I'm alright with it. We can live with this. Okay, so an Atmos suit actually does not require any plastic, but it does require copper ore, which I have a little bit of, but not much. Might be bad that I'm trying to refine this all into copper right now, huh? Let's instead make a bunch of gold. I think that makes more sense. Yeah, copper, that's a bit of a problem. We can probably make one of these, but that's about it. Maybe two. Yeah, that is... Nope, maybe just one. How am I going to find more copper when it's already basically been removed from the game? These ice blocks have been working fantastically well, by the way. It has been able to reduce the temperature of the water down to something far more manageable so we can grow as many bristle blossoms as we want. That's why I have so much food. So yeah, whenever you're in doubt and you need a quick solution to cool down all of your water, ice blocks do appear to be a good solution. Alright, so let's go ahead and place down our oil refinery. If I go to stations... No, refinement. There we go, oil refinery. Alright, so this thing will take in crude oil and power, 480 watts of it, and it will put out petroleum, natural gas, and a reasonable amount of heat. Okay. So the natural gas is something I actually would like to contain if possible, because I might just be able to use that in some way for at least part of a natural gas power plant, if not an entire, you know, whole power source. Let's kind of see what we can do with that. Okay, so in my setup right now, what I'm putting is an oil refinery right here in front of a whole bunch of temp shift plates, and my thought is I don't necessarily want to have wheezeworts inside of my oil refinery room. The reason being natural gas, if I can find an example of it right here, has a pretty reasonable specific heat capacity, but terrible thermal conductivity. So even though the wheezewort would get pretty good efficiency in terms of kilowatts of energy removed for every tile, it would take a long time for that natural gas to heat up at all, so it's really not a good idea. What I'd rather do is pump up a room full of hydrogen with a metal tile setup right here to kind of function as a sort of heat sink, literally drawing the heat out of the room. Pump this full of hydrogen so we get as much benefit out of my wheezewort as possible. The same sort of thing will be happening right down here. I want to pump this full of hydrogen and have 4 wheezewort working, and the reason I want that is because... Does it say right here? Maybe it's down over here. Hang on. Polymer press. Yeah, 162.5 watts of heat. A load of heat is going to be coming out of this particular building right here. And that's a bit of a problem because it's going to output the plastic at like 75 degrees, but plastic melts at I think 79 degrees or something like that. So if it gets much warmer, the plastic will just melt into naphtha right here, which I obviously do not want. So that's why I'm going to have a bunch of wheezewort, and we absolutely have to pump this full of hydrogen. That's one of the reasons I have a pump right here. Trapped as much of this hydrogen gas as possible. That's going to fill up both of these rooms until they're kind of at their capacity in terms of density, air density. And then hopefully the wheezewort will be able to do their job. Now, you might be wondering, why does hydrogen work so much better with wheezewort? It has everything to do with that specific heat capacity. Hydrogen appears to have the best... thermal capacity? Yeah, it is. 2.4. 2.4 joules per gram per degree Celsius. So it's the number of joules, or energy units, required to heat 1 gram of whatever gas or object it is by 1 degree Celsius. Basically what this means is that hydrogen is a gas that is able to retain a lot of thermal energy, right? So it takes a long time to warm up and a long time to cool down, but it kind of can hold a lot. It also happens to have a pretty reasonable thermal conductivity, so it actually heats up pretty pretty quickly. It just doesn't lose that energy very rapidly. So you might be thinking, okay, well, fine. But if one of these buildings, like let's say the oil refinery, is always outputting a certain amount of wattage of heat, namely in the form of like 50 watts of heat, then who cares what medium you are using? As long as Weezwort is pulling out, let's say, 50 watts of heat itself, then that will be enough to cancel this thing out, no matter what gas is in there, right? Unfortunately, that's not quite how Weezwort works, and I've been learning a little bit about that lately. Weezwort does not absorb a specific wattage of heat and remove it from the game. It actually operates by absorbing 1 kilogram of whatever gas is around it, and then removing it, or sorry, outputting it again at 5 degrees lower than it was before. What that means is 1 kilogram of hydrogen can potentially lose a lot more joules, or a lot more thermal units of energy, than, let's say, chlorine gas could. So hydrogen and Weezwort interact very, very well together. So I'm going to be using this wherever I can. Looks like some petroleum, by the way, is coming out. That's excellent. Is this thing going to turn on automatically? No, not until we have a gas output. Ah, I forgot about that. Okay. Hey, where'd my Slickster go? Is he dead? No, he's there. There he is. I think we found another one over here somewhere, too. Okay. So where do I want to output the carbon dioxide? I kind of wanted to throw it down here to make the Slickster happy, but we kind of have a problem with how much water and polluted water got dumped down there. There's actually a whole load of natural... Well, not a lot. It's very low in density, never mind. It could make sense to dump it down here to make the Slickster here happy, and so he keeps outputting more and more oil. Maybe. At the same time, it also just might not be worth it at all. What we could do is actually just dump the carbon dioxide up here where my carbon skimmer already is, and that's a way of getting rid of it. Yeah. At least until I decide to take care of the Slickster, I think that will be a fine way of doing things. So let's go ahead and get some gas piping. Going out a this direction. Let's get myself a gas bridge. Rotate that around like so. And upsy-daisy. And then bridge back over, and then dump over here, and we'll just remove it slowly but surely. But yeah, all right. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons I really wanted to experiment with the Weezwort and see if this is actually going to work. Is this thing not... Oh, gosh, dang it, I forgot to... I forgot to actually wire this thing up, which is highly unfortunate. Let's make that a 9 priority. There we go. That's why this thing isn't turning on. Darn it, we're going to lose some of this hydrogen. Man, I really, really hope that you guys are able to work fast, because I don't want to lose any of this hydrogen. It's very precious to me. Now that I understand the full implications of what hydrogen can do... Are you okay? Popped eardrums. Apparently the pressure change is really hurting. Oh. Okay, so sorry. Well, why don't you go somewhere else that's a bit more comfortable, eh? What's on with the irrigation up here? Looks like my water stuff got all screwed up. Yeah, I'm having these problems with plumbing a little bit right now. Granted, this is a bit of a tangled mess. I've tried to do a lot of experiments using liquid bridges to force the liquid to only flow in one particular direction. But it seems to be getting more and more confused as time goes on. I'm not sure that I'm doing this in an efficient way or not. Please get over here and do this like now. Is anyone coming over here to deliver my gold amalgam? Anyone going to do this wire at all? Hello? Hello? Gosh dang it, you guys are making me lose all the hydrogen. Okay, now case in point, this room is not very cold right now. Part of that is because carbon dioxide is one of the worst gases for using with Weezwort, because it has a very low specific air density, or no, sorry, specific heat capacity. There we go. One of the lowest in the game, also terrible thermal conductivity. Carbon dioxide just sucks in every possible way there. So this thing's going to get real dang hot really freaking quickly. Unless we can get some hydrogen in here. Also, there's not a lot of density for this carbon dioxide, so there's not actually a lot of efficiency to be had with the Weezwort for that, too. Please go ahead and turn off. One thing I totally forgot about is the polymer press actually does output steam, which means we are going to build up a tiny bit of water in my petroleum tank over time, which I'm not super duper keen on, so we'll come back to that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and try pumping in some of this hydrogen. It is now on its way. Here it comes. Should get split evenly between these two. And again, once it gets up to a density of, I think it's like 2 kilograms per tile, it should automatically stopper itself. Should. Why is this thing acting as if it's already having trouble? Not especially sure. Can we even see any of the gases here once these temp shift plates are located? It's not abundantly obvious. I'd like to still have the gaseous overlay here. Is that just completely unallowed? Huh. Okay, so case in point right now, now that we've reached about 2 kilograms, this gas vent is overpressurized and cannot continue to deliver anymore. We could change that if we wanted to go for a high-pressure gas vent, and it would allow us to put even more in here, but to be honest, I don't know if I see a lot of benefit. So the Wheezewort then should be absorbing 1 kilogram of the hydrogen per second, and I think the math will work out to relieving about 12 kilowatts or so of energy per second, or something like that. Well, okay, a watt is already got a measure of time to it. A watt is a joule per second, but you get my point. 12 kilowatts is what I think it had been calculated that a single Wheezewort can do with hydrogen. Potentially. So let's see how quickly this stuff cools off. You can actually kind of see the temperature gradient that's starting to happen using these temp shift plates. The idea behind these is they kind of help draw the energy a bit more consistently throughout the room. You can see here that right around these metal tiles, which is cooled down to about 24.6 degrees Celsius, that it is indeed pulling the energy gradually in this direction. So down here, 30.7, up here, about 24.6. So they actually are almost matching up with the metal tiles perfectly. That's kind of nice. And the temperature is, well, it should be gradually decreasing in here. Currently 24.2 degrees Celsius, roughly. Obviously, this is going to change a little bit as the oil refinery starts to heat up. Very quickly, this thing is starting to get very hot. 50 degrees. Uh-huh. So this whole room's going to heat up pretty quick. Why are you going in here to breathe? That is the worst place for you to go, you idiot. You guys are making it really hard to contain my gases when you keep wandering around in here. Go somewhere else! We are producing about 5 kilograms of petroleum per second. The polymer press uses up... What? Does it say here? Can you guys please go somewhere else to breathe? Good God. Don't make me lock this thing. I just want you guys to be able to grab at the plastic. But seriously, go somewhere freaking else. Anyway. So let's see. The polymer press... Okay. 833 grams per second. So we are producing way more petroleum per second than we are using with a single polymer press. Presumably we could have... What was this going out? Presumably we could have several polymer presses for every single oil refinery. If it's outputting 5 kilograms, and it's using up 833, I think you can actually have technically 6 polymer presses for every 1 refinery. We don't need to go quite that far. That's way more heat and carbon dioxide and stuff than I know what to do with, but, that would certainly be an option for us. I did add in a thermosensor here just to kind of function as my emergency fail-safe. Let's go ahead and turn this thing on, and you can see that once it gets on, it starts warming up pretty quickly. Go somewhere friggin' else! God. And it's just pushing out a bit more plastic right here. It's kind of a disgusting process. Yes, lock the frickin' door. We'll gather plastic another time. The other added benefit of having a thermosensor here is, on the rare occasion, when it looks like this thing is going to overheat, and all of my dupes have decided that they want to go to sleepy bye, all I have to do is just go over here and click this button, and it should automatically turn it off for me. So that kind of functions as my own manual fail-safe, and I don't have to wait for any stupid dupes to come and do something. The polymer press is increasing in temperature ever so slightly, but not by a lot. It's kind of hovering around the 40 to 41 degrees Celsius range. It probably is not helped by the fact that the petroleum down here is already pretty darn hot. But it's not going to an outrageous range. As long as I'm able to turn this off every once in a while, it might actually be fine. Oh, interesting. Another one of these anti-entropy things. I think that's a third one on this map I've found. One up here. And then way up here to the right. There's one here and one here. Ah, man. If we really wanted to use those, I know we can cool a lot of stuff down. I mean a lot. By the way, I know that there's another geyser right here. I did do a kind of a save scum check. It is a copper volcano, which I've never encountered before, but presumably it can release a lot of molten copper or something that maybe I can cool down and use. I guess that does potentially solve my lack of copper problem, doesn't it? Now, we have talked about using natural gas as a new power source, and I still kind of like the idea. It requires 90 grams of natural gas per second to operate. It outputs polluted water? Interesting. No intake of water, it looks like, to work. No, I don't think so. I think it just creates water? Is that right? Also carbon dioxide. 90 grams per second. So if we wanted to do that, the oil refinery produces 90 grams per second by itself. So theoretically, if this thing were operating at all times, it would be enough to power a single natural gas generator all on its own. Realistically, it's not going to be operating all the time because our guy can't breathe. Also, he has to go to sleep, and so on and so forth. It's a manually operated machine. The other option would be to use some fertilizer synthesizers, which takes polluted water, plus dirt and phosphorite, and outputs 10 grams per second of natural gas plus 120 grams per second of fertilizer. So if we had 9 of these, that would be enough to power up one natural gas generator. 2 of these plus the oil refinery could also be enough. Let's see, it takes 39 grams per second of polluted water, and this outputs 67. So it wouldn't be a quite self-sustaining system in terms of polluted water, at least. We'd have to pump a little bit into the system. Also, we still have that carbon dioxide to deal with. Also, a fair bit of heat, but it does produce a lot of power. It is certainly a thought. I'm not sure how eager I am to use this stuff, but I guess we could at least give it a shot, right? I'm not really sure how I want to place this. For now, let's not worry about the fertilizers. Just know that that is an option. Let's instead get myself a gas pump, which we'll place over here, I think. A couple of ladders so I can get around, just to make sure I don't have any problems. And when this gets to a certain density, we'll try pumping out a little bit of gas. We'll throw it into the same smart battery so we don't have to have this coal generator going at all times. And hopefully we can just kind of test that out and see if it's any good. Okay, so I think this setup could possibly work for us. I am assuming that the natural gas generator is going to drop the polluted water directly out from under it, because it does not have a liquid output, but it said that it was going to output polluted water, right? Wrong button. Yeah, it says that, so I'm going to assume it just drops directly down, hence why I created this tiny little reservoir with a pump, just so we can send it back into the system and it doesn't just sit around for no good reason. With our ventilation, we do have our natural gas filter, so we should be pumping this full of natural gas right now, and lo and behold, it's going to turn on and start outputting a fair bit of power. And it is outputting... Oh, shoot! Airflow tiles aren't going to do the job, are they? Of course not. We need to be building up with mesh tiles so the liquid actually can drop. Oops. Alright, let's try that one again, shall we? So now we can see that the water is indeed dripping through the mesh tiles and down into the liquid pumps. I can kind of see how this could turn into an interesting feedback system between natural gas generators and fertilizer synthesizers. The fertilizer synthesizers would take the leftover polluted water and just turn it into fertilizer and produce natural gas, which gets fed into here, and so on and so forth, back and forth it goes. And if you had just the right setup, this actually could potentially be really good. Let's see, I need to turn you back on. Well, actually, no, wait. If this thing's not up to a certain density, I don't want to use it. So let's re-enable my oil refinery. And for good measure, my plastic. How's the temperature looking right now? Pretty darn cold. That's great. So as we continue to build up some density here, I'm hoping we'll feed in enough natural gas to kind of get a little bit of extra power. And I did add in a liquid pipe filter down here just because some of the steam water was getting into the system and damaging my polymer press, which we obviously do not want. So that should fix that problem. In the meantime, everything else seems to be working fairly well. It's keeping relatively cold. We now are making use of some of the natural gas, getting a little bit of extra power to make this a more sufficient system. It's hardly perfect, and if I was sitting in debug mode and didn't have to wait around for the dupes to do absolutely everything, I probably could build a far more efficient setup. And that might be something worth doing someday in the future, but for now, at least we got to experience some of these new features. It looks to be working pretty well, and we've already produced a few 100 kilograms of plastic, which we can use now. Excellent. All right, we're going to end this video here. Next video, I think what we're going to end up doing is trying to get up into the outside of the asteroid. Maybe set up a couple of solar panel power plants. I'm not sure yet. At the very least, find out what the heck is inside of here and try to survive without getting killed by a meteor. That'll be fun. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If so, then be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.